I'm Rachel from Ray K Books, and today I'm going to be interviewing Liz Vishara. Hello, Liz.
Hi, Rachel.
Hello. So we are promoting your newest book, Played. Can you please give us a little synopsis?
Played as a companion novel to Hooked, which was published last year. And in Played, it follows the intersecting lives of two secondary characters from Hooked, Sam Tracy and Riley Berenger. And they're two characters who, at least on the surface, lead very different lives. And like I said, in Played, their lives intersect. And they have a few adventures and some misadventures. And probably if I told you any more, I'd probably be giving you some spoilers. But it's a YA novel, of course. And like I said, it's a companion novel to Hooked.
And so, what inspired you to write this book or this series?
Well, I initially started writing about 7 years ago women's fiction, and for whatever reason, started to find myself a lot in the YA sections of my local bookstores and libraries, and I just was really drawn to first-person narratives, and um, and anyway, I just really fell in love with so many contemporary YA stories that I thought I would try to write a few, or write one at least, I should say. Plus, I was a little disappointed that you so rarely found YA in the American Southwest. And in particular, I was a little I don't know if intrigue's the right word, but maybe a little disappointed that you didn't see very many characters that are typical of the American Southwest. For example, like Native American characters, which there's a lot of rich Native culture out here. So I was driving down this road one day, not too far from my house. I was coming home from a hike, and I was just I don't know what I was thinking about, Rachel, but suddenly this image of this character who would eventually become Fred in Hooked popped into my head. And I went home and just started, writing away furiously, and all of a sudden I had this first draft called Hooked on my laptop. So it wasn't exactly something I planned. But the more I got into it, the more I loved the story, and the more I loved writing a YA story with diverse characters set in the American Southwest, which I think is a pretty cool place. And like I said, I wish there were more stories with this particular setting.
So, you bring up a really good point. Nowadays, I see on Twitter and social media that there isn't a lot of diversity in young adult novels. I mean, they're basically all the characters are like white, and they're all like there's always Valley Girls, and it's the same thing. So, my question is, what do you think that this will change now that there's more talk about it?
Um, I hope so. I'm a cautiously optimistic kind of person, glasses half full. However, the reality is, unless people buy books with diverse characters and diverse settings, I really don't see it changing. I hope I'm wrong, but publishers are, they're running businesses, and if they've got books flying off the shelves with diverse characters in it, I would think they would then want to publish more. So and unless people buy the books, I think we're just gonna continue to see status quo.
Hmm. And so, what books have most influenced your life?
Well, I'm a pretty voracious reader. I read a lot. I've always read a lot, but influence my life, it kind of depends on the period of time in my life. I grew up on and loved, of course, all the Little Women books, the Little House on the Prairie books. Being a Midwestern girl myself, I, loved those stories. The Boxcar Children, I loved that. As I got older, I really loved the Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, just to name one. There are just so many. Recently, I read and fell in love with Still Alice by Lisa Genova. It's not YA, but I certainly recommend it to, teens certainly should be reading it. It's about a story with a woman who has early onset Alzheimer's, which is something that's, really impacting our populations in almost catastrophic numbers. And so that's a recent favorite. So there are lots of books that have shaped me, and it kind of depends on the period of time when I read them.
And so what's a genre that you would like to write in next that you kind of want to venture into? And what's a genre that you will never write in?
Oh, God, that's a great question. One that I would like. I love contemporary realistic YA. I love contemporary realistic stories, period. Those are usually my go-to books in, literary fiction, contemporary literary fiction. I really love. While I love books like Divergent and Hunger Games, usually dystopian stories are not my go-to genre. Probably a genre that I would never write, although you hate to say never, because you just never know what little things are going to pop in your mind. I would probably have to say horror. I'm always amazed at people like Stephen King who can just write these just scary as heck books. I don't think I have the chops to write that.
And so, which actor slash actress would you like to see playing the lead characters of your books?
You mean like for Played
Yeah.
or Hooked? Oh,
Have you done your
uh,
research?
sorry.
Have you done your research?
I get these images in my head. I know I have a lot of writer friends who, they'll cut out pictures in magazines or of celebrities, and those are sort of the images that kind of shape their characters, and I think that's a fantastic idea. That's just not how it works for me. People sort of the main characters in my books form in my head, and just kind of develop organically. But that being said, not to there's an actor I just absolutely adore by the name of Adam Beach. He's a native actor. He in his younger days, he's probably, I would think, mid to late 30s now at this point, maybe even early 40s. But in his younger days, I could totally see him as Sam Tracy in Played.
Aww.
And I just, like I said, I think he's a fantastic actor. As far as a girl who could play Riley, Riley is, I see her so clearly in my head, but I really don't know if I could right off the bat name it, an actress that could play her. Maybe a young Reese Witherspoon. But I can't think of anybody just like 16 or 17 or 18 right now that I could think of. I'm always really intrigued and honored, to be honest, when I read posts from people who've read it and they put GIFs
I love those.
in their posts with these people, and this person could be Riley, or this person could be Fred from Hooked, or this person's Ryan from Hooked, and it's so cool that they get those images from reading your story. So I'll be curious to hear what people have to say or write or think, as play, especially as Play gets released next week. I'm always just really intrigued by the images that the characters conjure in people's minds.
So have you looked at these GIFs and said to yourself, wow, that's actually a really good representative of, my character?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And on Goodreads for Hooked, I mean, people were just putting all these different images in their posts for everyone from for Fred. Fred is a girl, by the way, not a guy. But Fred is one of the lead characters in Hooked, and I saw everyone from like Jessica Alba to actresses I've seen in Teen Wolf, to people I don't even know, to actresses I don't even know. But it's kind of fun to see who people come up with.
So do you have any advice for aspiring writers?
Gal, oh gosh, it's like so much advice. It's kind of hard to say what would come out first. I think the first thing is if it's your passion and if it's what you want to do, don't listen to the naysayers. Do it. But keep in mind there might be a period of time where you're perfecting your craft or you're having to do a lot of research. And by research, I mean reading. Reading is just such a huge part of, or should be a huge part of the day for any writer. I read like 3 to 5 books a week.
Wow.
Other than loving to read, I consider it part of my job. I love to get lost in stories, and I love to see how people develop characters, develop plots, and so forth. So I think the big piece of advice is, don't go into it with rose-colored glasses, but certainly don't let people talk you out of it too, because there certainly will be plenty of those people, because it is a very difficult profession. There's I mean, it's a profession filled with lots of rejection, and I'm sure that's very true for other professions as well. But you learn to deal with a lot of rejection as a writer. But still, if you want it bad enough, you go for it. You figure out a way. And I was telling someone, I forget now who, they had asked me, well, what motto, what great little words of wisdom do you live by, kind of thing, that sort of question. And I mean, I don't mean to sound full of myself, but there's just this quote that has stuck in my head, and it's one that I came up with, and it's, if you can't enter through the front door, kick in a window. You find a way. If you keep getting rejected, you figure out how to overcome it, and maybe do it a different way, or come at it from a different angle, and you keep at it. It's perseverance plus a little bit of dumb luck along the way, and a huge dose of great timing.
Very good. Very nice advice. And I do like that line about the door and the window. It's a very good one.
Get through the front door. Well, there's other ways to get in the house. So kick in a window, figure out another way to do it. Just don't give up. If that's what you want to do, don't give up.
Right. And so now we're going to be playing a game called Would You Rather, Literature Edition. And what Would You Rather is I would say to you, Liz, would you rather eat apples or oranges for the rest of your life? And then you're going to have to say either apples or oranges. And then, so the first question is, would you rather live in the world of Hunger Games or Divergent?
Golly, I'm going to have to say Divergent, because it's set in Chicago, and that's where I grew up, and I'm pretty fond of that city. So just for purely selfish reasons, I'm going to go with Divergent, although I hope no one asks me to like jump off the top of a building. That would not be cool.
Would you rather fight next to Hermione from Harry Potter, Katniss from Hunger Games, or Triss from Divergent?
I'm going to go with Katniss. I thought she was pretty cool.
Would you rather read a book that is poorly written but has an excellent story, or read one with weak content but is written well?
The first one.
Who would you rather have as a child, Harry Potter or Hermione Granger?
Oh, wow. I'm going with Hermione Granger. It would be neat to have a daughter.
Would you rather write novels where all of the characters are women or all men for the rest of your writing career?
Oh, I'm kind of fond in a really weird way of writing characters that aren't like me because I find that more interesting. So I'm going to go with the men.
Would you rather write a book without using conjunctions or have every sentence of your book begin with one?
Oh, God. Um, Begin with one.
Would you rather write a plot twist you hated or write a character you hated?
Write a character I hated.
Would you rather a super successful movie be made from one of your books or a long-lasting television series?
Ooh, good question. I'm going with the movie, though. There's something about seeing it on the big screen.
And then the last one is, would you rather critics rip your book apart publicly or never talk about it at all?
Oh, definitely publicly.
And that concludes our Would You Rather game.
Yeah,
Yay!
fun. I like that.
You got an A plus, gold star.
Thank you. I didn't never got a whole lot of A's, so that's pretty cool.
Well, I'm honored to give you one. So I just asked the question, would you rather critics rip your book apart publicly? Do you read negative reviews of your book?
Yeah, I have. It kind of depends on where my head is at and what deadlines I've got going. I mean, that's the other kind of crappy thing as a writer. You're never going to write a book that pleases everybody, and you just know there's always going to be bad reviews. If I'm in a particularly vulnerable state, or if I need to stay focused on a deadline, I'm not out there reading reviews. It just gets me too off focus. And it's just not a good use of my time. But then if there's like a lull, and you've got time to interact with people more on Twitter and social media, and I can read reviews and I'm in a good place, yeah, I'll go and read them. And good or bad, I'm just glad somebody picked up my book somewhere, either at a library, at a bookstore, lying on a basement floor somewhere. I don't care. It's always an honor when somebody reads your book.
And then there's this kind of war-ish going on Goodreads about reviewers versus bloggers or versus authors. And when people write reviews, authors tend to comment on these reviews, and it starts wars. So, what is your take on the Goodreads kind of going on right now? Do you feel like authors should be able to comment on reviews, or do you think that they should be separated and not really go into it?
I'm on Goodreads because I'm an avid reader, a voracious reader. I don't think I should be, if I want to comment on a review of someone else's book because I really loved it or hated it, or I've just got something that I want to say, I don't think I should be, just because I'm a writer, shunned for doing that. But as far as making comments on my own, good or bad reviews, I don't go there. It's just, Goodreads is a place for for readers to kibitz about books, and putting in my 2 cents on a review, particularly for my own book, it just isn't a good use of my time, and I don't think that's the right place for it either.
And then my next two questions are team questions. The
Okay.
first one, are you team Edward or Jacob?
Jacob.
And then the second one, are you team Gail or PETA?
Peter was the short blonde guy, right? And Gail was the
Yeah.
tall, good-looking guy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah, I gotta go with the short blonde-haired guy. I thought he was kind of interesting.
PETA?
Yeah.
Okay, and then so all of the two teams, those were books that became movies. So what's your favorite book turned movie?
I'm gonna go real old school on this. The movie Gone with the Wind and the book Gone with the Wind had made such an impact on me when I was like 10, 11, 12 years old. It was the first book, well, probably not the first book, maybe, but the first adult, book, maybe besides the Boxcar Children, which I, of course, devoured. But I remember Gone with the Wind was so epic, and it just drew me in, and it was the first book I remember going into my bedroom and closing the door and not coming out literally for a couple of days. I could not put this book down, quite literally. My mother would knock on the door, Liz, are you hungry? Blah, 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 blah. I didn't do anything but read for 2 days. And then I remember when the movie, it was like, it was like a classic movie, and it was being released, and it came to our town, and I hadn't heard about it until kind of the last minute, and I begged my parents to let me go see it. It was a midnight showing of all things, and it was on a weeknight, school night, and and then I remember my mom and dad saying, if your sister comes with you, your sister Mary comes with you, you can go see it. I begged her. Mary was not as enamored about the movie as I was.
No,
That
no.
probably, to answer your question, I thought just a fantastic adaptation, book to movie, and I know it's an old movie and a classic movie, but it's just one that has stuck with me. Just the sheer epicness of it, and the grandeur, and the colors, and the fire, and the history, and it made an impression.
If you could have been the original author of any book, what would it have been and why?
Wow. I like I was saying earlier, one of the books that I've read recently that just blew me away in a good way was Still Alice by Lisa Genova. I wish I had I wish I could say I wrote that book. I think that book is amazing.
If you were stranded on let me try that again. If you were stranded on a desert island, which character do you want by your side on the plane?
Which book character, I guess you're saying, right?
Mhm.
Wow. Wow. Well, if I'm on a desert island, I guess I want somebody who's funny and interesting, right? Wow, that's a tough one. I'm gonna say I'm gonna just go crazy on you and say Bill Murray from Caddyshack or something. You're gonna need some humor on that desert island, and he's kind of funny and interesting. So I'm gonna pick him.
I've never seen that movie, I'm ashamed to say. Oh no. So, okay, my next question is what advice would you give to your younger self?
Don't take everything so seriously. I was a super serious book nerd, bookish kid, and I think as a result of that, I didn't put myself out there in a lot of ways that maybe you should be doing in high school. So just don't be so serious. Don't take yourself so seriously. And just remember, yeah, it's so easy to say after the time has passed, but you don't get those years back. So enjoy them while you can. And so I would just tell myself, don't be so serious.
And which famous person, living or dead, would you like to meet and why?
Oh, well, I would pick my parents, who both passed away. I would, if I could get them back for 1 minute, I would do it. So I'm going to say my parents. They're the people I admire most. They're the people I've always admired the most. And to get them back for even a minute, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
And then what is one character from any book you would like to meet?
Golly. I'm thinking of books I've read recently. One character. It's hard to always pick one.
Yes, I know your dilemma.
Yeah. I'm gonna say, what if in my head, I'm going through all the books I've rated and reviewed on Goodreads. That's where I keep track of everything I've read, because, like I said, it's when you read a lot, it's easy to forget. I'm gonna say Alice of Still Alice. I know I've just talked a Blue Streak about that book, but it was just so impactful. It's just hard. It's been hard for me, not that I'm trying, but it's just still so much in my head.
So since you're such a Goodreads freak, which is good, I love Goodreads too, there is that yearly goal that they always have. So what's your yearly goal?
Ooh, I never set like I will read 200 books in 6 months or anything like that. I'm like I say, I read every day. I read pretty quickly, especially if I'm really into a book. I'm reading like anywhere from a minimum of 3 to 5 books, minimum of 3 books a week. So doing the math, 12 times, I could easily read 250 books a year.
And then another question I have is there anything you find challenging in writing?
Yeah, oh gosh, lots of things. It's hard when you're writing the first draft of, say, one story and another really cool, super shiny idea pops into your head, and you want to crank out a chapter or two on that. Staying focused is so sometimes it's difficult, for at least for me, to stay focused, because it's like I'll see something, hear something, read something, and I'll get this great shiny idea for another book, and I'll want to just launch into that. So staying focused, and then plus when you're in the throes of your first draft and maybe you're rewriting that first draft for the sixth.
Hello? You froze a little bit. Let's just wait a minute to see if she comes back. Well, doesn't matter anyway. We're kind of done with the chat. It's been exactly 30 minutes. So I guess I'll just tell you guys about the giveaway that Liz is doing. Liz is giving away her newest book, Played, and that's USA, and she's also going to give away 3 bookmarks, signed bookmarks, and that's going to be international. And in order for you to win, this live chat is going to become a YouTube video. And when it's a YouTube video, I would like you to comment on that video. And then the second thing you need to do, this is optional, is to follow Liz on Twitter. And if you follow her on Twitter, please comment with your username so I can verify the entry. Yeah, she's gone now. So it's just me. So again, if you want to win the giveaway, once this chat is done, please leave a comment. And then if you follow her on Twitter for extra points, leave your username in the comment. And this will end next Tuesday, which is the 27th. And that's it. Liz is no longer here, so I can't thank her for the chat. But thank you, Liz, for the chat. I really enjoyed talking with you, and thank you everyone who is watching. And that's it. And I will be interviewing, I think, one more person this week, so stay tuned. Thanks. Bye.